Welcome to the Explainer. You know, if you've ever felt a bit whipsawed by all the advice around calcium, you are definitely not alone. So today, we're going to untangle that confusion.
I mean, on one hand, we're told our whole lives, right? Calcium builds strong bones. It's the foundation of our entire body. But then you hear these pretty scary warnings that maybe, just maybe, calcium supplements could be dangerous for our hearts.
So, what gives? Is calcium our friend or our foe here?
Well, the key to unlocking this whole puzzle is a concept with, let's be honest, a fittingly confusing name, the calcium paradox.
Okay, so how are we going to get to the bottom of this? Here's the plan. We'll start by breaking down what this paradox even is. Then we'll look at where it came from in the heart, why less calcium can weaken bones, the whole supplement controversy, who the missing team players are, and finally, your big calcium takeaway.
All right, first up, what is the calcium paradox? Well, here's the thing you have to know right off the bat. Calcium paradox isn't just one single idea. And honestly, that's a huge reason why it can be so darn confusing.
See, this label has actually been slapped on at least 3 totally different concepts over the decades. It started way back in the 60s as this weird thing scientists saw in heart muscle cells in a lab. Then, in the 2000s, it was used to talk about how low calcium in your diet could weirdly weaken your bones. And by the 2010s, it was all about population studies and that big debate over supplements and heart health. So it really has evolved, from a super niche science thing to a major public health topic.
So, let's go back to the beginning, the original heart paradox. We've got to start with the original definition, because it had absolutely nothing to do with what you eat or with osteoporosis. Not a thing.
So the term itself, it was actually coined by scientists way back in the mid-20th century. And if you look at old research papers, like this one here from 1985, you'll see they weren't talking about food at all. Nope, they were studying isolated heart tissue in a petri dish, just trying to figure out the basic mechanics of how it worked. And what they found was, well, it was bizarre. A truly paradoxical effect. Here's what they did. First, they'd bathe these heart cells in a solution with 0 calcium. Then, they'd put them back into a normal, calcium-rich environment. And you think they'd just recover, right? Wrong. Instead, the cells experienced this massive, uncontrolled flood of calcium, leading to, and this is wild, irreversible injury and death, total self-destruction. Okay, so that's the original, kind of obscure lab definition. Now let's fast forward and talk about the paradox that's probably most relevant to you and me. This is the one that really flips our common sense about nutrition right on its head. So here's the modern clinical paradox. The idea that low dietary calcium intake leads to more calcium loss from the skeleton. I mean, think about it. You'd assume that if you're not eating enough calcium, your body would go into conservation mode, right? It'd hold on to every last bit for dear life. But nope. The exact opposite happens. Your body starts to raid its own supply, plundering calcium from the one place it has a huge stockpile, your bones.
And why on earth would it do that? Well, this quote right here explains everything. The body prioritizes maintaining serum calcium over bone health. That single principle is the key. Your body cares way more about keeping the calcium level in your blood perfectly stable right now than it does about the long-term strength of your skeleton.
So here's how that sacrifice plays out. Let's say your calcium intake is low. Your blood calcium levels start to dip, even just a tiny bit. Immediately, your body's alarm system, the parathyroid glands, goes off and releases something called parathyroid hormone, or PTH. Now, PTH's job is to fix this, and fast. Its fastest, most effective option isn't to get more from your food. That takes too long. Nope, the quickest fix is to go straight to the vault and break down bone tissue to release its stored calcium into the blood. The bones get sacrificed to save the day.
So you see, the big takeaway here is that your bones aren't some secure, locked-away storage vault. They're more like a calcium buffer, or maybe a checking account that your body can withdraw from whenever it needs to. It's an emergency fund, and your skeleton pays the price.
Okay, so this leads us right into the next layer of this whole confusing mess, the supplement controversy. This is the paradox we see when we zoom out and look at data from entire countries.
And this has been a real head-scratcher for a long time. People started asking, why do countries with the highest calcium and dairy consumption, I'm talking places like Finland and Sweden, also have some of the highest rates of osteoporosis? It just doesn't seem to add up. So you've got this weird thing where high-intake countries have high fracture rates. And on top of that, other studies started linking calcium supplements to potential heart risks. The idea was that without proper guidance, maybe that extra calcium was ending up in arteries instead of bones. This whole situation just created more confusion and fueled this other version of the calcium paradox.
So what are we missing? What are these other crucial factors? Well, it turns out the solution isn't about getting rid of calcium. Not at all. It's about giving it the help it needs, the missing team players.
Yeah, this quote really nails it. Calcium cannot do the many essential jobs that it does unless calcium has the help of two team players, two vitamins, vitamin D and vitamin K2. We now get that calcium doesn't work alone. It's a team player, and it absolutely needs its teammates to get the job done right.
And who are the MVPs on this calcium team? Well, the two most important players are vitamin D3 and vitamin K2. Let's call D3 the doorman and K2 the traffic warden. These little analogies make it super easy to remember what they do.
Okay, so first up is vitamin D3, the doorman. Its whole job is to unlock the door in your intestine. Without D3, you can eat all the calcium in the world, but your body can't absorb it. D3 is what lets the calcium get from your food into your bloodstream.
But, just getting calcium into the body isn't enough. That's where vitamin K2, our traffic warden, comes in. K2's job is to tell that calcium where to go. It basically activates these special proteins that act like a GPS, directing calcium to where you want it, like your bones, and just as importantly, keeping it out of places you don't, like your arteries and soft tissues.
All right, let's pull all these threads together. What's your big calcium takeaway? It's really all about context, not just quantity.
Okay, here are the one-liners to remember. First, your blood calcium level is protected at all costs, even at the expense of your bones. Second, because of that, having a low calcium intake actually makes osteoporosis worse. And third, all these paradoxes we talked about, they mostly disappear when you realize calcium needs its partners, especially vitamins D3 and K2. It's not just about the amount of calcium, it's about whether your body can use it correctly.
So this really reframes the whole conversation, doesn't it? Maybe instead of just asking, am I getting enough calcium, the better question we should all be asking is my calcium getting to the right place? Because making your calcium work smarter, not just harder, well, that might just be the real solution to the calcium paradox.